It's unbelievable how all the people in key places, are Zionists. I'm sorry, but the brazen upfront, and your previous guest mentioned some of those brazen upfront, and yourself, of what Obama's doing. He blatantly lies to the people, and he's not called down for it. It's amazing. Guantanamo, he's not closing it. He's not withdrawing from Iraq. He's going to increase war in Afghanistan. Goes on and on.
Russell, I want you to repeat all that. In fact, I'm going to skip this break. We have the music, but I'm going to skip the break for the PrisonPlanet.tv viewers, the internet stream listeners. We'll be back for everybody else in 4 minutes. But I want to skip this break and continue talking. We can do that, right, guys? With Russell Means, because I don't want to waste any of this time, and I love this new video hookup, and I want to invite him anytime he's in Texas to please come in the studio. We would really be honored to have that. So stay with us. We're going to continue, Russell, with Russell Means right now. Alex Jones. Okay, Russell, continuing. I've always tried to stray away because it's such hot-button issues to anything that's Protestant, Catholic, Hindu, Native American, because I'm just like, we're all human beings, let's be friends. And the globalists use that to play us off against each other.
Definitely.
But at the same time, when Rahm Emanuel is openly a Mossad operative and in the IDF military, and it calls himself an Israeli first, he's the chief of staff, and they're in a meeting, this is in the New York Times, they're in a meeting in the New York Times, and in front of the Congress, they call the congressional leaders in of both parties, and Rahm's popping his fingers like this right by Obama, and Obama says, please stop that, Rahm. And Rahm gets up right in his ear and pops his knuckles in his ears. And that is a sign of dominance. And it really is scary to know that special interests, the big banks out of Europe, Israel, all these groups, that we're just a whorehouse. We're a joke. We're here to just be completely used and abused. So I want you to get into that and then start over, because the music interrupted you with how Obama has already betrayed everything in just a month.
Okay, fine.
So, we're still live. Go ahead.
Well, Obama, as I mentioned, he's not closing Guantanamo, maybe in a year. He's not withdrawing from Iraq because of the situation there and the Iraqi freedom and the voting and the democracy. I mean, come on. You got the largest embassy in the world, bar none, and it's ostentatious like a palace. So why are you going to leave? You're never going to leave. Afghanistan, they're already pouring new troops in there. And they're making, and Obama did this on the campaign trail. He named Pakistan. He's going in militarily into Pakistan. That's an Islamic country with the bomb. So it has to be taken over. And he will take it over. Mark my words. But he is, when I was growing up, the used car salesman was the epitome example of being slick con man. Well, this guy, and I heard your previous guest mention about how he is so smooth on going from teleprompter to teleprompter to teleprompter. And the people don't know it that are watching it on TV, but he is trained. He's very well trained. And I think he might even be a clone. It's not beyond my comprehension.
No, there is something robotic about him. I mean, it's just so fake. And for anybody who's got discernment, you see right through it and you go, whoa, this is dangerous. Because, you have this little demon bush who even looks like a goblin and is obviously evil and it does all. You can see how it was scripted. And then it turns out his mother worked for Tim Geithner's dad at a big foundation. And is totally globalist, and they've been grooming him since he was a kid. That's now on record, and his first job was for Henry Kissinger. And so certainly he's been trained since he was a child for this role.
I believe so. The other thing is look how they've now got so much control of the world. China has now announced that they're going to continue buying T-bills. This country has been so emptied out. You go to Europe, you go to Germany or the Netherlands or even the British Islands, and they're still manufacturing. They're still making shoes. They're still making clothes. They have a garment industry, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They have fishing industries.
Russell,
where are we at? Where there's nothing that we can fall back on. All we have is a bunch of Social Security slaves that are minimum wage and that they keep knocking it down, knocking it down. You don't ever
Russell,
hear
we're coming back
about
to the full audience.
Massive. Pardon?
We skipped a break, so we're coming back to the full audience. We were just on the internet. Now we're back to the full audience. Here we go. You know, I should brief my guest when I do this because it confuses things and it sounds like I'm interrupting Russell Means. We're on PrisonPlanet.tv. We're streaming over the web. Hundreds of thousands are listening on the web. So I skip those breaks. But on the AM and FM dial, when I skip a break, Russell, we then have to come back to the full segment. So I'm sorry I interrupted you there. I just don't want to waste any time with you. Please start back over with what you were saying a minute ago about being in Europe compared to the United States and how that ties into what was done to Native Americans, what was done to other Aboriginal groups around the world as a mode of siege, a mode of control. The globalists admit they've deindustrialized us by design. Please break it down.
Well, to break it down, it's Indian policy. The Americans are now the new Indians of the 21st century, and the United States is the reservation. You look, you know, the farmers and the family farmers and family ranchers, the backbone of independence and the backbone of Americanism are the ones that have been systematically destroyed at least since the decade of the 60s. Now, as America was being emptied out. Now they turned this, and this is just fact, that in the late 50s they began turning America from a producing, productive country with a powerful, powerful people called unions that were the biggest threat politically to the hierarchy of the United States of America. So in 1950, they got Walter Reuther and all them to sell out the unions. That's not the point, though. The point is they began emptying out America. Our garment industry, the shoe industry, every industry, the fishing industry, the steel industry, every industry you can think of. Then they started importing the Toyotas and those foreign corporations in to further destroy our own industries. And then having done that, we're empty. We're slaves now, minimum wage slaves. The middle class has been decimated. Look at, and we're not hearing about it. We're not hearing about it. We've got to have some kind of a mass movement. And Alex, you're about the only one. I mean, not the only one, but I know you are one of the most important ones that we can get this mass movement going. We're doing our thing for freedom here in the Republic of Lakota, but we have to reinstill the idea of responsibility into Americans. Because once you become an Indian on a reservation, you have no motive. And the family farmers, the family ranchers, they're almost extinct now because of the credit crunch. They have been groomed, the family farmers, family ranchers, to run their entire operations on this phony credit operation of the United States, and now they've withdrawn the credit. So the family farmer, family rancher, dead in America.
Russell.
Which means America is dead.
I agree. I mean, my family are farmers and ranchers, and they had to go get jobs in the 50s because of the way the government changed everything and took it over. They all had to work in jobs in town and then work just to not lose their land. And they had to sell off more and more. And now with the animal ID, the premises ID, they're written by the big agribusiness. It openly shuts down farms, ranches. They're almost gone. And once you lose that, we have 90% people are urban and 10% are rural, but only half of those, or 5% of the population, is self-sufficient. And we have globalist documents where they state they wanted to do this, and now they've done this. And I was just down in Mexico a few weeks ago, in Yucatan, and I said, I don't see fishing boats here like I saw last time I was here 5 years ago. And they said, no, the government has banned us fishing. Only the big trawlers from Japan and the U.S. can come. And I went to the village and asked, I said, there's no people here. And they said, no, we're not allowed to fish now. So see, it's the same thing they did to the Native Americans.
Right. And it's you take the means of production away from our people, and what do you have left? You have slaves, minimum wage slaves.
Well, they use...
I have mentioned now that China has just announced that they're going to start buying treasury bills again. Treasury bills are secured by the land of America. Now, already China owns 40%. Saudi Arabia owns 20% of the T-bills. So together they own 60% of the land of America. Now, however, because America is so broke and running this phony economy, printing this phony money, is that if they wanted to collect on their T-bills right now, America and the dollar would go bust and broke, and we would have to take a wheelbarrow full just to buy a toothpick.
Russell Means, stay there. We got a break. How are they keeping the indigenous Mayans from fishing? The environment. The big bottom trawlers can come into it, but the natives, they can't fish. See, that's the phony environmentalism Obama's bringing in. We'll get Russell Means' take on that. Stay with us.